you start thinking about your company, the one you really want, I bet you'd like to be able to grow the company. I mean, that's what you think about. Success is growth. But you know something? In 2008, that was a peak year for an awful lot of companies. Companies were growing incredibly well. And then 2009 happened. Crash. Lots of companies lost as much as 50% of their revenue. Like Rob. Rob had a company with $8 million of revenue in 2008. It was his peak year ever. He was really excited. He was growing substantially. Unfortunately, in 2009, he was $3 million after having to cut 26 of his employees. Painful. And you want to know something? It wasn't lack of money. You see, what I realized in talking to Rob is that there's a difference between pursuing your passion and just pursuing growth. Rob pursued growth. And because he only pursued growth in 2008, he kept doing what he was offered. He didn't take the opportunity to diversify his client base with all the opportunities that came to him. He didn't take the advantage of a couple of new sales channels that had been presented to him. No. He was too busy growing with his current market. And his employees were too busy working with the current concentrated customer base. He had all the money he needed. The bank gave him a great line of credit, and he had incredible terms with his customers. 40% with order, and another 40% progress. That's 80% before he even actually delivered the product. But in 2009, that all disappeared. I asked Rob, you know, what would have happened in 2009 if you had done something in 2008 that was different? What if you had actually financed your passion, not just your growth? He said, well, Stefania, I guess I lulled myself into thinking that I was growing and everything was okay. I didn't realize what was going on. You know the really hard part? He was growing with all the cash he needed. The trouble was, in order to pursue his passion, he'd have to do something different. He'd have to invest in some new infrastructure. He'd have to invest in some new training for his employees. He'd have to invest in some new things. And that exceeded the cash he had out of his internally generated flow. Honestly, no prudent business builder will ever implement a growth strategy that exceeds the cash that they have for them. So I ask you, is it possible to finance growth the same way as financing your passion? What do you think? Can you finance growth the same way you would finance your passion? What do you guys think?
I think it's possible.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. And why do you say that?
Because if you focus your business in the areas that you're strongest, that's probably where you're most passionate. So I think it makes sense, unless you're dividing it into very small cuts. It seems to me that if you really figure out exactly what market you're pursuing, it's possible. I don't know if it's probable, but it's possible.
So what I hear Pat saying is that obviously the growth that you've got is built on some of the things that you do well, but it may not be all of what you do well. So there's something else. Guy, you had
I would expect that your passion would be where you grow. You know, what you're passionate about is where you put the most energy, And I think there's a correlation between passion and growth. Or at least
There's
there
definitely-
should be.
I agree with you definitely, Guy. I agree with you definitely. There is always a correlation between your passion and your growth. Here's what I noticed. To avoid Rob, or potentially you, from having 2010 duplicate the catastrophic impacts that so many companies experienced in 2009, here are 3 tips. 1, focus with great clarity about your vision of the future you really want. Secondly, be sure to project your future out 10 years. That's a set of financial projections way out there, which will then help you prioritize what you do today, which addresses the question, is what I'm doing today with my growth consistent 100% about where my passion is? Or are there some things that I need to tweak? So it'll prioritize and help you decide what you need to do in the next 10 minutes, the next month, the next quarter. And thirdly, laser communicate your passion, both internally to your team and externally to your market. Now, that's important because what we've just noticed is that growth is really all about what you did yesterday and is easily financed based on the profitability and cash flow you have historically. But if there are investments you need to make for the future, which is different than your past, you're going to have a different process for financing it. When your future is that much bigger than your past, you got to have a different way of doing it.
Stefania, I'm wondering, is it really possible to project 10 years out? I mean, even 5 years out seems so far to me. I mean, I feel like I'm so focused on the day-to-day.
Bingo. And Pat, that's exactly the difference between growth and passion. You see, growth is what happens near term. The future is a declaration. When you were not yet a book writer, you had a desire to become a book writer, and it was far off in the future. And you used that guiding force to decide what school you were going to go to, how you were going to allocate your homework assignments, who you were going to hang around with, and everything else that you did. And if you had only focused on where you were when you were making a decision about going to school, you might have said, well, you know, I'll just go to school geographically where I'm comfortable. It may or may not have been the best school for where you wanted to go. So it's no different. And the real key is being able to finance your future, which is so different than your past, with the future. Which, when you think about it, is exactly what we do with our careers. Since Pat made me think about that. How did you finance that? Well, you ended up getting a job that pays you to go where you want to go. Well, that's what's cool about building businesses around the future. Your future is unique to you. Your future is rare. What's rare is valuable, and what's valuable is currency. Only to those for whom they are like-minded, which is perfect because they keep you safe. So just, you know, you don't have to believe me, but allow it to be an opportunity to think. Financing growth is different than financing your passion. Keep thinking.